All right. So these are rocket doors. These are the new and improved pocket doors that makes framing a lot better and a lot easier to install pocket doors. Pocket doors has always been a big pain of mine, mainly because the way the construction of the frame actually was and how the door actually mounts into the track. So Rocket Doors has come up with a solution and improved the efficiency of not only just installing it, but it provides a lot more strength and makes it a lot easier for framers and builders to put in pocket doors. So let me show you how this kit goes together and why it's better and how it's going to make your life a lot easier when you have a good pocket door frame for a sliding door. So first thing is cool is this can get shipped straight to your door very easily. It's just literally like an 8-inch tube or a 6-inch tube that has everything in it. So this is great to be able to store on your job site and just have this set up for the framers or whoever's going to be installing it. But I thought that was great because if you ever bought one from a box store that's already pre-made, they're pretty flimsy. They basically fall apart as soon as you put in your truck, and they're really easy to lose all the parts. So it's great to have this, just be able to be right on the job site. You know, you could even mark it as bathroom on it, and that would make it easy for anybody to know where that needs to be. So in this particular situation, I really wanted to do pocket doors, especially down this narrow hallway. I didn't want anything swinging out into the room. I didn't want anything swinging into these closets because that's just going to hinder any movement. Plus, I got a slanted ceiling here on the other side. So a swinging door most likely would end up getting caught up against the ceiling. So a sliding door in this scenario really made the most sense. And it's just something a lot of bathrooms, it really is appealing because it does save room and there isn't anything that you're walking around. So we got two 24-inch doors. We're going to put one on the toilet room and then one on this closet. And that's going to really give us a lot of extra room within this space. So I went with 24s because these closets aren't very big, and that's really all we're going to need to be inside of the room. So on this particular wall, we're just going to center it. So centering the actual frame. So from wall to wall here, we got 64 inches, 64 and 3/8, whatever, 64. So it's 32 and 3/16 is basically the center. So we need to have 48 and 5/8 for our total opening. So we're going to go 24 and 5/16. And then we're actually going to cut this back another 1.5 inches so we can get our stud straight to the floor. Okay, so that's what we're going to cut out right here. So I think that'll work well because so basically our 24-inch opening will be right here. So this will be where our pocket door opening will be. So that gives us a little bit of room, 9 inches on the back room, and then obviously you have your full size over here. So, and then we have enough room to have an electrical box here when we come into the room, which will work. So I think that works. Okay, all right, so then we'll just cut this out on the other side and get some framing for our jamb. We'll go ahead and put our header in after we put the door frame together. Now, keep in mind, this is not load bearing at all. If you're doing a load bearing wall, you're going to want to put jack studs and have a header above it. But most interior walls, it's not necessary. So we'll address the header here in a minute. Let's go ahead and put our doors together first. But everything is in this kit for connecting the door and the frame system. So very streamlined, easy installation. This is your trolleys and your door mechanism. So you could just sit this aside if you're not ready to put the door in yet. And then these guys are all your screws. They actually do come with some Because it's a metal frame, they have some self-tapping screws for the drywall, so you can leave this for your drywaller. I thought that was kind of nice that they include that. But they have two different spacers here for the bottom door. So it depends on the size of door that you have, the thickness, I should say. So if you have an 1 3/8 or 3/4 door, you would use these smaller door plugs. But if you have a 1 3/8, which I say is pretty much more common, and that's what we're going to be installing, we're going to be using these a little bit thicker. These are basically the guides of the bottom of the door. So it's one or the other. Just, you know, and if you don't know, it's not a big deal. You can always change them out later on. But we're going to go with the 1 3/8. Just make sure the two holes are down at the bottom, and that you could see this little metal track that's going to clip in. This is where you locate this. So this has a little nub on it that goes into the first hole, and this is going to face towards the outside of the door. This is kind of like a helpful little spacer, I guess you could say. So it just kind of holds it in line here. Now these are going to be temporary. This is what's just going to kind of hold the door opening for you. So these are going to get removed. I should show you these different screws because it can be confusing. So these guys are all for the main clips. All these clips are going to be these screws, these little tiny flat, you know, kind of, I don't know, little nubby screws. These are very difficult for temporary. They don't want to come out. They're made to be staying in the unit. These guys came with the sleeve on these. This you'll be able to remove. So just pay attention to which screw you use, because I actually screwed that up at the beginning and it was really tough to get these little fat screws out of there. So, all right, so then you just hold this brace here. So this has a little connector point that just slides right in and clips the unit together. Very simple process here. You just basically snap right in. This is basically the part that you're going to be the actual structure of the frame for where you're going to connect the drywall to. So rather than those cheap 1x3s that are all bowed and screwed up, these are all nice and flat and straight. And I think that's really the big benefit of having a system like this, is everything's nice and straight and well connected together. Okay, so make sure they're all snapped in there. This guy is going to be the part that actually mounts it to the floor. So these are your little guides. There's a little couple holes here at the bottom. This just threads right into here. Now you're going to use the permanent screws that are going to hold this into place. And then here's the top track. So the top track, the single holes on the back, I'm going to connect into the back of the frame. So basically all the other holes, so you got two of these. These are going to go on the back side. So again, the back side is the one hole. These guys are going to be basically what anchors right into the 2x4s for the header. So make sure that it's angled out. You can see here, that's what you're going to anchor for that 2x4 header. So that's the way you want it to look. You want it to be angled out. Again, another set. You can see that these are basically where the drywall stoppers are. Okay, so this guy is longer. So if you had a double door, you would make this go out past this header. But since we're only doing a single door, we're just going to align this section inward. So if you had a double door, you can do that. That's what this is designed to do. And actually a 48-inch opening would be nice for some situations. You can slide these into, so there's like a little L notch here. Okay, so that's all there is to the installation of the frame. Now these guys are the spacers. This is kind of just holds everything spaced out properly. So you gotta kind of wedge these in. Try not to break them. Okay. Okay, so that's gonna represent our floor covering here. So you got basically 3/4 of an inch because we're gonna have an underlayment and then we're gonna be setting tile. So it might be a little bit above this, but really you'll be able to cut the door down to be able to overcome anything. But you just wanna have it close to the finished floor. I think within a 1/2 inch is gonna be totally sufficient. So that'll be where we mount our bottom track to. And so if that's representing our finished floor, then we'll come up 82 3/4, and then that'll be our header height. So again, we need 48 5/8 for a header. That's pretty nice having these little catchers on here. And I can just screw that right into place. So just make sure that the top header is level before you fasten it into place. So you do have the ability to move this up if needed. There we go. So you do want to make sure that this is square. Okay, then put a couple screws down into the bottom. And you got some screws in the back here. Very nice. Awesome. Now look at that. I mean, that is extremely sturdy. We're gonna go ahead and put the door in just to show you how it works. But the other thing that was nice is that, you know, your Roughin framer that puts this in, they don't even have to worry about the top tracks. You can just keep everything. So all these items you can hold on until you're ready to put the door in after you even finish the floor. But they do give you a bunch of tap-ons or self-tapping screws. This is for the drywall. I honestly don't even think you need it. But it is nice that they send them to you because it does have the self-tappers. But I think, honestly, a regular drywall screw is going to be able to penetrate that just fine. You just want to, you know, stay down to about an inch, 1 1/4 at most because you need, you know, you don't want to interfere with your door. But this is a sturdy frame. This is definitely way better than a cheap wood frame that you get from the box stores. This is going to just work so much better. Having everything, you know, completely strengthened and rigid is just going to make the door operate in good condition all the time. So we're going to go ahead and put the door in just to show you how it looks. And then, yeah, we're going to do the other one for the other toilet room. Okay, so 4 3/4 from each side of the door. Just mark the center. So centering the U clip here on the 4 3/4. And these are going to extend down. So this is what's going to lock right onto here. And then you can adjust it if your door is for some reason not level, but you can adjust the height of this pretty easily. Make sure there isn't any debris in this track after installing it. You want to keep this clean. And then these trolleys just simply slip up into the track. It's nice being able to do this afterwards because then you can clean it and not have to mess around. These got to come out. We're going to put these back in because we're not going to keep the door in while we drywall. Wow, so much easier. I was cursing on those cheap doors sliding in. This is really nice. Because all I gotta do is tighten this on here.
Be off of there.
Very nice. Yeah, that's gonna work great. Nice and smooth. Now, obviously, you're not gonna hear that rattling because once you get the drywall on here and trimmed, but boy, very, very nice. Rocket door is definitely the way to go. Much, much better. And there's also additional things about this that's gonna be better. So you can even see here, I'm gonna run my drywall right up to the edge here so you don't have any raw drywall that you're trying to trim against here. So it's gonna be a lot nicer in many aspects. So, but we're gonna leave this in here for now, but before we drywall, we're gonna put these pieces back in because you wanna make sure it stays the correct width when you go to drywall. But yeah, very cool. And put some screws in the back. And then basically just keep this even with the wall. And you can put these screws into the floor. So there are some really cool features to these Rocket Pocket doors. Not only do they have a great metal frame that's easy and straight and easy to install, but they have accessories with this that makes this much easier. And I wanted to show you this before we actually hang the drywall so you can actually see how it functions and how this benefits the closure of the door. So I have two pocket doors. I have one for the bathroom, for the toilet room, and one for a utility closet. And I wanted to do both of these features. So they have a soft close apparatus that makes this door so you can prevent yourself from slamming the door. So it's soft close, just like your cabinet doors. And then they also make one that is self-closing, which I think would be awesome for the toilet room. It'll just automatically close for you when you open it up. So on this one, I'm going to just show you this really quick, easy mechanism. This is the soft close apparatus that you put on the door. There's just a couple of steps that you got to do to fasten this. So first off, we need to take the door back off. So just take the unthread the screws. Okay, then on the top of the door, simply install this in the middle of the door here, 9 1/4 inches. So this needs to go to the edge of the door, 9 1/4. So you don't want this overhanging, but you can leave a little bit of a reveal because this is what's going to basically make the soft closing aspect of the door. So this is a 24-inch door. So this does need to be moved slightly just because of, if it was a 28-inch door, you wouldn't have a problem keeping these centered. So, but in this fashion, we're going to have to just move this second clamp back a little bit. Okay, so now you can go back, put your door back on. And then what makes this a soft close is this little device here. So this guy just slides right into the track. There, we got some holes pre-drilled for it. So you need to have, all right, babe, watch. Here's a little door stop. That's pretty important because that makes the door stop right at the right spot there. So now you can see when I clip it. See, now it's just going to slowly close it by itself. It's a soft close. So it's going to prevent anybody from just slamming it, because it's just going to hold it. So if you have kids, they will be prevented from swinging this open and slamming it. So pretty awesome. Yeah, so soft close keeps it from slamming. Okay, so the bathroom door, same thing. We need to get our hardware anchors on here. So you want to be 4 3/4 from the edges of the door. This is a self-closing mechanism. So this will allow it to close, which is basically a spring-loaded thing that basically makes this close by itself, which is really, really awesome. So bend this down. And then this little guy here goes right on the side of the door. So this is the back of the door. Okay, then 2 inches down from here, we need to put our little stopper. This is what's going to clamp in the wire. You also want to make sure that you put your door stop in here. Oh, geez, can't put that in first. Okay, so you just grab this wire here, and then this is going to go. Got to loosen this locking nut here. Yeah, cool. When you come down from a regular 8-foot ceiling, this is going to meet right on 4 foot. So they have a divider right on 4 foot. So that'll make that easy. But I do think it's a good idea to just go ahead and just put a little bead of sealant on this middle track. That'll kind of help hold it together. Or just, kind of not hold it together, but just keep it from rattling and just make sure that it's really well sealed to the drywall. Definitely not perfect, but it's not going to matter. You're going to have trim that covers that. So there's little self-tappers. So these things can adjust Oh, now that we have that tile floor up, we need to adjust this and raise it. Either that or we can cut the door, but I think we can just, you know, we'll be able to adjust that to the height that we need. There we go. Okay, so you have to have the door in. Just make sure it doesn't hit the bottom. Be good to go. Now we can go ahead and trim this. Rocket door frames do have a trim kit that are made for this. So the first thing we need to do is get this door jamb in. So the first thing you need is the jamb here that fits from the floor to the top of this. So you got 81 and an eighth. Okay, so this is specifically made to go right over this metal edge. And it has a little notch here that you want to have facing inside of the door frame. And this is going to give enough space for our door latch to come over. So if you didn't have this little space here, this is going to catch on that. So you have to make sure if you're doing a soft close, you want to have that little notch on there. Or if you're going to plan on putting a soft close at some point, because you can add this on afterwards. You just want to make sure that notch is at the top. Now this is all metal, so you're not going to be able to just nail it straight in. We're going to use a little bit of poly sealant right on here, and we're going to adhere this trim to it. I do highly recommend the poly sealant because it's nice and sticky and it holds really well to this metal. And just hold that right to the drywall level here. And then we just do that on the other side as well. And then we have the top header piece. So you just want to measure 22 3/4. And so this guy has this little detail. This will hold down like this. And what this is going to do is we're going to get some screws so that you can pull this down if you ever had to service the door. So cut this 22 3/4. Okay, so then we have our little metal lips here. So we just want to have a screw on each one of those. So we're going to do a little recess pilot hole on this. Okay, so this just holds even with the edge of the drywall, and then we can screw into that metal plate. Okay, so since this is the pocket door side, we're not going to be able to nail it completely in. We're just going to basically use some adhesive and just tack it with some smaller nails. Basically, we're going to be putting nails into the drywall. Put a couple tacks in this just to hold it in place. And then the adhesive will actually be the part that actually holds this.
No, it does.
Yeah, that'll be nice. So this will, what I could have done is made the door, the bumper come out so where I could have just grabbed this, but then that would have really hindered the door a lot if you would have prevented it. So what we're gonna do here, okay, so on the soft close, this little wire that hooks on here, I would recommend when you put it in place, just obviously just make sure that it's self-closing. But then just take this extra wire. I really wouldn't cut this just in case you need to adjust it. Maybe you want to reduce the soft close. So I'm just going to stick this up into this little corner here so that if I needed to grab it and adjust, I can do that. If you cut it right at the end there, then you don't have any more ability to adjust it. So I think it's important just to put that up there. And then when you go put your door jamb on, it's not going to interfere with it, but you'll be able to still pull that wire down to adjust it if you needed to. Okay, then what you want to do is just make sure the door meets nicely to it, which it does. Okay, perfect. That'd be nice.
Pause this.
So yeah, we can just paint this once this dries up. You're good to go.